What's going on, Warhammer people? We are back here at the Art of War, and we're going to be talking about yesterday's MFM update, which brought some points changes to Chaos Knights, Imperial Knights, Death Guard, and then Votann got the official Codex points, which we had previewed in the Codex review.
Yep.
So some pretty big changes. These are all changes we've been looking forward to for a little bit here as tournament players.
Yeah, so some might call these much-needed points changes. I don't know if anyone here had looked at like the tournament results or whatever, but Death Guard were going crazy. They were doing some stuff that ain't been seen since the start of the edition. It was pretty bad. You were seeing people who don't even play Death Guard playing Death Guard, and then Imperial Knights were also like hideously undercosted. And then, like, the little brother of the three of them, Chaos Knights were also just kind of broken, also doing the stupid thing with them. And that just sat at the top of the meta like a cancer, just killing everything and just winning most events, right?
And this was with the meta having adjusted to tailor for these armies the last 2 months.
Oh, yeah, if you
they were still dominant.
Heavy anti-tank, you weren't trying. And also, Death Guard were a heavy vehicle-based army, right? Because they had all the buggies and the haulers and stuff. And then you had Knights and Chaos Knights. So everybody knew you had to go mondo anti-tank, and it wasn't enough. It just was not enough. So that's where we were 2 days ago.
In this video, we're going to go ahead and break down the points and what Jack and I think, as well as what we think lists might shift to for these different armies, and then kind of give our thoughts on where the meta might be headed around that. And then we'll be here to answer any of the questions that you have. So if you want to ask a question, feel free to super chat, and we will get to those after we go through each of the sets of points changes. So very much appreciate your support. If you do super chat in the meanwhile, don't worry. We will come back to them towards the latter part of the video and kind of hang out with you and just talk about 40k, because that's what we love doing. So if you are joining us, please do give us a like, subscribe to the channel, and tell your friends about us. All of that massively helps us grow. In addition, leave a comment below letting us know how you're feeling about the new MFM. Are you somebody who plays one of those factions? How are you feeling about your list moving forward? And if you're somebody who doesn't play one of those factions, which is going to be more typical, how are you feeling about the meta overall? Are you excited to go to your next tournament? Nova Open, for example, the next big super major, is using these points changes here, although not the Votann stuff. So we're going to start to see big events using these and see the impact of it quite soon.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think getting into it, right, the thesis of the video and kind of our opinion here as a group is that while this is a sizable hit to the armies, I don't think it's enough to knock them. They don't tumble. Right?
This isn't more DACA. This isn't you get the rules nerfed, you get the points nerfed. Everything about your army is worse, and like significant ones. Here, most of the lists that we're seeing, you're going to cut an Armiger class type of model for the Knight armies and maybe some enhancements, but you can still run a lot of the core. Maybe you switch around some of what the big Knights are, maybe a little bit less Atropos, maybe a little bit more of the ones that are slightly cheaper. And then for Death Guard, a lot of those lists are cutting between 150 and 230 or so points, which is not nothing. That's effectively at least 2 different units, but those lists effectively had at least 2 units that kind of didn't really matter to win the game.
Yeah, I mean, they also just like had too much stuff in the first place, right? If you look at IK and CK, right, they went down like 70, for some reason, like 70 points a model on the big Knights. And
including Canis.
Yup, including the best one. And then they went up like 40 points each. And if you look at that, you're like, wow, they kind of just went down 30, which is still a lot if you think about it. So, I mean, let's go through the points, and then we'll talk about where we think the armies are now.
All right, so for Chaos Knights, the big ones here, the ones that you saw typically were the Despoiler class, which went up 40 points. This is the one that can run double gunning Chaos Knights, so typically double Gatling or double battle cannon. Really, really nasty unit, especially in the Infernal Lance, where you can get Ignores Cover and Sustained on one of them, and that dramatically elevates their damage output. Sometimes you would see the multiple Abominants in a Lords of Dread type build, less so in the Infernal Lance. And then Rampagers would occasionally be seen. A Fight First Rampager is ludicrously good in Lords of Dread. You could also have a really fast one in the Lance. And then the Atropos was another one that you would typically see. It also went up 40 points because it's anti-vehicle monster, basically. It wrecks those type of profiles.
And in this, in the previous meta, that was super important, right?
Most
You had
important
to be
thing.
able to kill enemy knights, basically, and the Atropos did that very consistently. The Abominant and the Desecrator each went up 30. Abominant, sometimes you'd see in multiples. It still is the cheapest one. So if you want to run the most big knights, generally, some amount of yours are going to be Abominants. They're pretty good. They're good in multiples because you get a lot of shots. Like, yes, they are AP0, but the rest of that gun is phenomenal, and you have a lot of shots and dev wounds and stuff. So the Abominant's still very, very good. Desecrator's still very good. The Despoiler, the Rampager, I think you can take all of those. The Ruinator went up 25. That was thoroughly unnecessary.
It's ruinated.
It's still the worst one. I don't get why it's one of the more expensive ones, but, whatever. When they decide to make it better, that's when people decide to take it. And the Tyrant, obviously, it also went up. So looking at these, I think you're still going to see basically the same composition as you did before. But the big lists, like the big knight lists, went up like 120 to 160 points, I'd say, if you took 4 to 5 big knights. And yeah, I mean, that's not fun, but that's like pretty tenable.
The thing is, if you still have 5 big knights plus maybe some Nurglings or some Plague Bearers or something like that, your opponent still has to have the ability to kill 2+ big knights in a turn, or you get overwhelmed. It doesn't matter that they're down like an Armiger class model or something like that, or they had to cut 1 Nurgling and 1 Plague Bearer unit, but they're still there.
Yeah.
6 big knights you're not going to see after this update. That has basically been dead. That's killed.
If you want to run Lords of Dread, yeah, you can take 5 for sure. 5, 3 enhancements, and like 3 units of Nurglings, or 2 sometimes, depending on the variety you take. I wrote a couple lists. But you can easily take 5 big knights with enhancements and 2 to 3 units of Nurglings and Lords of Dread. Still fantastic. Still wrecks any melee army in the game, right? Between a Fight First Rampager, if you decide to go that route, or just -1 damage on these profiles in combat. I don't see melee armies like being able to beat them just because they dropped like 150 points. Like, sorry.
They still struggled to get to the first layer of the army, let alone the last part of it.
Yeah, and like the stuff that the list that I had before cuts is not a knight, not the stuff that causes you problems. It was like 2 beasts and a Nurgling squad. Like, yeah, again, they would like to have those units, but they don't need to for their primary game plan.
Yeah, for me personally, I think one of the changes we'll see or one of the kind of bigger consequences of the changes that we'll see is that I think a lot of these armies are going to still be mid-table bullies, because the points changes where you're slicing off like their extra mission play or one, Armiger or War Dog, that really matters a lot at the top tables, where really high-skilled players are super tailored, super dialed in to beat these armies, and losing those extra couple pieces, that's going to end up being a pretty big deal. But if you're towards the mid-tables there, where when you lose to this army, the game's basically over turn 3. Doesn't matter if they have any extra resources. The game is either won or lost, kind of in a big battle.
Yeah, there's 5 knights on the center objectives, top of 1. Can you survive? Or, objective survive, right? Like
exactly. When your plays are not like all these tricky movement plays and trying to outlast them and like pick away at the edges of their army, if you're really just trying to kill them, which is what a lot of which mostly happens kind of at the mid tables, it's actually just a stats battle. These guys still have stats, and they're still going to be really strong, in my opinion.
I think they're still going to be good in singles for sure. Because you can, listen, there's a certain element of like, yeah, that only happens at the mid tables, but we've all gotten stat checked, and occasionally, if your stats aren't up to the task, 5 knights will run you over like anyone else. So I think it's still going to be a good army in singles. In teams, it's going to be great because like there are some armies that just can't handle this, right? And it can just still kill them, even though it's down. Again, teams, it's kind of also like the mid-table thing, where you're looking to find a matchup where it will just be able to and just kill your opponent, right? Just be able to drop the army in the center and wipe them out. So I still think it's going to be pretty good, honestly.
It's still going to find big wins, for sure. I think people might have the initial impression, which I haven't seen too many new lists just yet, but I think people who don't play these factions might think based on the nerfs that they don't have to worry about these as much. And I think if the meta, maybe for the first couple weeks, switches away, maybe you have like 2 extra anti-tank pieces you don't really want to run in your list right now. and you cut those because you're like, all right, Chaos Knights, Imperial Knights, they're going to not be quite as prevalent. Death Guard's not going to be as prevalent. I think that's going to be a big mistake, and we could see a swing up from these factions in the early weeks if people do go for that. But I expect these to still be at the top of the meta for the most part, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think that's very fair. Like I've seen people in like the Eldar channel saying, okay, so now that Knights and Chaos Knights have been nerfed, do we take out the second unit Fire Dragons? I'm like, nope, no, we do not. Partly because I like it generally. People have tanks that aren't Imperial Knights and Chaos Knights, but also because their death has been very much overstated.
Yeah, I do not think that these armies are going to drop out of the meta in a way where you can kind of reshift the focus of your list. We're not all of a sudden going to tailor for like a GSC or something like that.
Yep, and you still get a ton of models if you decide you want to go Hound Pack Lance as well. Carnivores went up 10, which is very likely to cost you 60 points, right? Carnivores are probably the best war dog. I'm not as tuned into the war
them and
dog.
The Huntsman.
Yeah. But 60 points is like not that big of a deal. And if people are still tuning to kill knights, we saw this a little bit actually. People would tune to kill big knights, and you could kind of slide under it with war dog spam. War dog or armiger spam would cause problems for armies. Like, for example, Host of Ascension GSC ragdolls like 4 or 5 big knights. You just can't kill all the models. If you try, they pick up and heal and drop back down, and it's
bad.
horrible. It's horrible. They'll pick up like 3 big knights in a turn if they focus their fire properly. Horrible matchup. But all of a sudden, if you decide you want to actually take 12 armigers instead, they still kill 3 knights. It's just those 3 armigers instead of 3 big knights, and you might be in a spot of trouble. So you could see people sliding in under the meta like that with like Hound Pack Lance or like 12 armigers and Imperial Knights.
One thing I will say is that I have started to see of the newer lists for this army and Imperial Knights to a lesser extent switch away from the Atropos because it is now one of the most expensive chassis for a big knight platform. And if knights, for instance, shift away from their anti-vehicle, anti-tank shooting that's really consistent and run mostly like Gatling cannons or battle cannons or the Abominants, that's the case where their damage output is actually considerably less than it was before from range. And you will get more activations from your tanks, your vehicles. They'll survive for longer, so you will get to play more of a game into these armies. So that could be something that does help a lot.
Yeah, I think that's interesting. I do agree that I think the Atropos is going to be seen a little bit less. And I think that's going to help quite a bit, actually.
It also has an invul natively in combat, whereas you need to run the Infernal Lance to be able to get that on some of the other ones.
Absolutely.
So that can matter a lot.
So these points, right, like a lot of these things came down like 60, 70, even sometimes higher than that, I think.
I think most expensive, the biggest drop I think was like 105 points back in June.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was like the Tyrant and the whatnot. These things came down like 70 points on average, and they went up about 35 points on average. And so it's still a buff over where it was. You can still put together a lot of big knights. You can still put together a lot of little knights. They don't have as much fluff around the edges. I think they will definitely feel another points nerf if they take it because they've trimmed the fat. There is no more fat. But we'll see. We'll see. I don't think Chaos Knights are as big of a deal as like Imperial Knights or Death Guard, but they were definitely broken and they definitely needed a tap.
Yeah, and honestly, if this set of changes came out like a month and a half ago, basically a month after the original set of drops where they're like, okay, that was a little too much. Let's reel that back just a bit. I think everybody would have been really happy because we've got 2 months of data with this. How much more does this army actually need?
Yeah, maybe there is a possibility that the army's like fine, right? There's a possibility that they hit the nail on the head and they're good. Our personal opinion is they still need a little bit more.
Yeah.
But it's possible. We have no data of that right now.
The other thing to consider here is that because we are getting this emergency patch, and Games Workshop said in the article that a data slate will come out in September, it is very possible that there could be further rules changes to these armies because MFMs do not have any rules changes. In addition to that, we could also see potentially, they're waiting. Maybe they wait till the end of September. Maybe we do get some data for this and they make some further tweaks here and there. And I quite like that personally.
Yeah. I do want to point out something that we said kind of at the start of this, which is that the meta is heavy anti-tank right now. You need to kill tanks or you might as well go home. So we're going to see, I think, these armies perform a little bit worse at the onset than potentially they can in the future. Just because, listen, if the meta is like 20 fire dragons and, 3 lancers and whatever else it takes to put knights in the ground, I think 70 points on average on these things was a lot, man. It was a huge drop. It was like an unprecedented, massive drop on the points of these models. And the fact they went up about half that is not... I'm not even convinced they need to go down at all, but we'll see, right? We're going to find out now.
Yeah, for sure. All right, next up we have the old Death Guard friends hanging out over here.
Yeah, and these guys were...
Number one.
Number
one.
They were number one. Yes. They had too much stuff. The stuff did too much damage. They just had too much stuff.
It's an army of debuffs that also has some of the most rerolls in the game, plus lethal hits and sustained all over the place, access to crit 5s in multiple detachments, and then 6-inch deep strike, more so than pretty much any army. They had like every amazing tool.
Yeah, I mean, their army was costed like reasonably comparatively to where it was. And then the book came out and was like, here's 1 billion rules. And you're like, oh my God, well, for me? Is for me? So the models just started punching like way above where they like should be for those points. So we'll see. I mean, it's not like a super durable army. It was only durable because it had too much stuff before.
It was durable by committee.
Yeah, you could kill 1 vehicle easy. You could kill 2 vehicles easy. You could kill 3 vehicles. You could kill 4. You can't really kill 5, right? So it wasn't like any of them were tough, which was kind of weird for Death Guard. Death Guard is like it's supposed to be like a really durable army, and it wasn't. It was like a medium cannon. It was like a wooden cannon. It wasn't like a glass cannon.
The Mortarian's Hammer, the vehicle spam style, where no single thing is super durable, but because you have 12 of them, it's awesome.
Yes.
So if we look at some of the changes here, like how the heck did some of these original points come out? Like Biologist Putrefier was the same cost as what, like a Blade Guard Ancient, 45 points?
How? I don't understand. The points on some of these are wild. Again, the heavy blight launcher drone at 100. Are you kidding here?
So Death Shrouds are still, I would say, the best Terminator unit in the game. And
they're pretty good, yeah.
At 160, frankly, I still think that's a really good cost for them. I could easily see them going to 180 in the future for the 3-man unit with how good they are. The bloat drone. The regular bloat drone with the flesh mower is just a great skirmish tool.
They're not as good as, what was it, the Alaris Custodians, so clearly they still need to be more expensive, or less expensive than
I mean,
Alaris.
if you think about it, like Deathwing Knights are legitimately expensive, and they have a very good defensive profile, but they don't have a ton of support. Then you have, like, Paladins have good offense, but then their defense is nowhere near as good as the Death Shrouds, and then you have things like, I guess there's not too many other Terminator
Are Alaris still... Okay, not to make this about me, but Alaris Terminators are still 60 points a model and dramatically worse than Death Shroud. I'm going to lose my mind.
I still think they're like clear best Terminator unit in the game, and 160 is a really good price for them. 6-inch Deep Strike probably should change to 7-inch Deep Strike, honestly.
Yeah, it makes it
just
a
make it a little bit harder.
Out.
And also 7's their number.
I'm not worried about like them going for a 6 versus 7-inch charge on my front lines, right? Like that's not what we're talking about here. What we're talking about more is if the more you extend the range out, the easier it becomes to screen them out and prevent them from getting into your backfield with a deep strike.
Yeah, all they have to do is advance 1 bloatrone within contagion range of your backfield screen, and all of a sudden, Death Shrouds appear, and that loses you the game.
Oh yeah,
real quick. So yeah, the Fleshmower Bloatrone or the Flamer one is only 100 points, like still
so pretty good
amount of points for that profile. This is the one I expected to go up the most, and it did go up 20 points. But honestly, this thing probably should be like 130, 135.
It's possible. That thing's crazy.
The offensive output is extremely good. Foul Blight Spawn, if you were going to transition mostly to Plague Marine type units, you still take a hit here with the Putrefier and the Blight Spawn, which I think is perfectly reasonable. Those characters were just undercosted.
I had to look at these and go, are seriously, it's 45 and 60 on those things? Like, I hadn't really taken a look at them, and then I looked at them and I was like, how are these at 45 and 60?
The Biologist was the same points as the Icon Bearer, and the Icon Bearer does literally zero things.
Yeah, he's cheeks. What's the Malignant Plaguecaster is still 60. So,
he's still 60. He's the cat. He's the Psyker guy.
Yeah, the Psyker plus the God, I can't remember any of their names. The Crit 5s guy and the Psyker guy are still very good as a combo. especially in Champions of Contagion where you don't need the fight first. So you can get lethal sustained 5s on the whole unit just all the time, and you have a bunch of guns. Very good unit. Very good.
Lord of Contagion, super durable Terminator character who stands back up on a 2-up. Like, he went up 10 points.
Yeah, he beats ass.
That's really low. And like 120 is still a very good price, and then he's a caddy for enhancements. Gives your Death Shrouds the sustain plus their lethals. Lord of Virulence, once again, he operates with that access to full rerolls for your blow drones. Only 10-point increase. He's another caddy for some very good enhancements.
Pretty tight.
The Blight Haulers only up 10. Honestly, what they probably could have done here is just go 20 for the 1 model units. Just make the 1 model units, which is what you're typically seeing, a little bit more expensive.
I think the 2 models are a sleeper pick, though. Like, I really do think taking 6 of these things is just a firing squad. But
then you're rewarded for actually overkilling the unit, whereas you're punished for overkilling a one.
Oh, for sure.
Single guy.
You got some options still. Plague Marines stayed exactly the same, so if you want to switch to a Champions Contagions list, that list, I'm not going to say it didn't go up.
Just a little bit.
It still went up a lot, but it didn't go up as much as, like, each Death Shroud package went up 30, so if you're taking 3 of those, it went up 90, right? And if you're playing Champions Contagion, you're probably not taking as many of those. So that list might lose like 120, whereas a Virulent Vectorum list or a Mortarian's Hammer list might lose like 200.
Yeah, especially because the Plague Marine builds usually had a bit less of the Blowtrone Blight Haulers. They've had like maybe 6 instead of 9 or like 5. So then they only go up 50 points there for those, or 90. And then Tallyman and Typhus. Typhus probably just gets hit by the fact that he's going to be the cheapest. He would have been the cheapest Terminator leader. He wasn't really seen that much, but the Tallyman definitely was. Extra CP on a 7 plus for 40 points was pretty darn good, and just dude who sits on your home objective.
Yeah, he was just pretty undercost. I think most armies would have taken, I think basically every army would take a Tallyman if it could. Death Guard was spoiled in that they didn't need to, right, sometimes. But for 40 points, I think every army would take a Tallyman.
Now, big things that didn't get hit here, this Demon Prince.
Not the winged one.
Oh, not the wings. This one right here, which is also the same cost, by the way. This is the guy who can be lone opt and gives you an aura cover, whatever. But more importantly, he can take a 5-up Phenopain enhancement. He's T12. T12.
Toughness 12.
And in Virulent Vectorium, he can be -1 damage. The dude is an absolute freight train of durability, and he's also pretty solid at damage.
Yeah, so that's my pick. The Demon Prince of Nurgle on foot is my pick for the single most slept on unit in this codex. He
reduces CP cost as well, by the way.
Yep, he has other things. He doesn't hit soft in combat either. But he's my pick for like the single most slept on unit here, because people underestimate the value of being able to put big dude on the center objective and lone op him, right? You put some Poxwalkers near him or some Death Shroud or whatever. Your solo Tallyman is behind a wall giving him lone op. You can figure that out. And you put him on the center objective, and he has -1 damage, toughness 12 with a 5-up feel no pain. Good luck. I'm not saying he's unkillable, but man,
the amount of effort it requires and how close you have to get to do it means you get attacked by an entire Death Guard army in return.
Yes, so you get basically 2 options. You just put this dude in the center, and your opponent takes a swing. Either your opponent leaves him alone, and you just win the game on primary, and that's fantastic. Or your opponent takes a swing at him. If they take a swing at him that doesn't kill him, all gravy, you get to kill everything that attacked him because it had to be within 12. And you just get to scoop a bunch of resources that your opponent thought could kill big tough things. And you likely get to win off that because they lose a bunch of resources, you can push them. If they do kill the prince, it means that they put something that can kill that within 12 inches of the prince, and you can kill it. And most of the time, it's like 2 shooting units and a big combat unit, and you just get to scoop like 600 points of your opponent's army, and crucially, 600 points of their highest damage dealing resources. So there's basically no way it goes wrong. Like, if you lose the prince, it's like, cool, I still get to trade up like 3-1, and I get to remove my opponent's like most vital resources as well to do that. And if they don't kill him, then you win on primary. And if they don't kill him while trying to, you win on primary and you scoop a bunch of resources. Dude's gross. I play like a worse version. He hits harder. He has dev wounds. He has more attacks, higher strength or whatever. But generally worse because no 5-up feel no pain, no toughness 12 version of that dude in World Leaders. He's the best unit in my book. So people are sleeping on that. And he didn't change at all.
He didn't change at all. Neither did the enhancement. Mortarion, I think, in Virulent Vectorium is also an incredibly potent figure, and usually he's hanging out alongside this Demon Prince and can help reactive movement, which is a disgusting combo against a lot of armies. I see a lot of people talking about Mortarian's Hammer, and the Plague Burst Crawler did in fact go up to 210, which means it's the same cost as the Exorcist, I believe. And that's really paying for the power of that detachment rule. I do agree with people that I've seen writing about it that probably Mortarian's Hammer just should have gotten a change to its rules instead of... Because the Plague Burst Crawler is fine outside of that.
Yeah, almost 200 points for an indirect piece.
It's fine in the other detachments. It literally is not taken in the other detachments. It's taken there because you get indirect fire that guarantee gets the -1 save and -1 toughness on enemy units, and you get to shred them from the backfield. That's bad. That shouldn't be happening. But it probably didn't need to go up. Just change that rule is what I would have likely done. But maybe they'll end up reversing it in the next data slate and change that.
It'd be hard to like balance some variation of that rule. Just pick units on the table. You don't need to see them. They don't need to be near you. Maybe like at the end of your movement phase, you can pick 2 units within 12 inches of your army instead of whatever.
Yeah, where you have to use resources to go reach out and grab them. It's not your opponent's backfield. It's just open.
Yeah.
That's too strong.
I mean, I'm fine with Plague Burst Crawlers, not really. I think 210 is too expensive for them. I think 195 was kind of too expensive for them, but you got by for Death Guard being strong. Leaving 600 points in your backfield, quite poor, actually, generally, as far as games go, but hey. So we wrote some lists. They seemed really good.
Yeah, so I'll read mine first, and then Jack can read his, because neither of us are Death Guard mains, but obviously we played a lot of games against Death Guard, and so we both wrote lists of what we would run if we were going to a tournament with them. So here's mine: Virulent Victorium. I got the Prince with Revolting Regeneration. I got Lord of Contagion with Arch Contaminator. Lord of Virulence with the Demon Weapon of Nurgle. Mortarian as the Warlord. 1 unit of 3 Death Shrouds. Double Flesh Mower Bloat Drone. Triple Heavy Blight Launcher Drone. Triple Mephitic Blight Hauler, all those solo, and 2 Poxwalker units. Yeah, it's just like, what am I actually missing from the previous builds? It's
I don't know.
I just have a full army there. That is ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, my
and I could drop Mortarian and get a lot more.
Yeah, pretty similar. Essentially, that's what it does. I am also taking Virulent Victorium. That's my favorite of the detachments, largely because the stupid Demon Prince.
The Strat Suite is really good.
Strat Suite is also very
Prince
good.
Is amazing.
Prince with Field of Pain, Lord of Contagion, Demon Weapon, Lord of Contagion, Lord of Virulence. 3 units of Death Shroud, so instead of your 1, 3 units still. 1 Plague Spitter drone, 3 Heavy Blight Launcher drones, 3 Myphitics, 3 units of Poxwalkers, 2,000 points.
Tell me what is nerfed! That is literally an amazing army, and we're going to see it.
Yep, I think
Death Guard are still, they have layers, so they are a very strong army, and a lot of them were just winning without having to use a lot of their resources, frankly.
If you like fuzz your eyes, that looks exactly the same as the list that we were playing into before. Like, sure, that list loses like 2 Flamer drones. Oh no! I'm being attacked. Oh god.
It's gonna be fine. So I think Death Guard are still sitting pretty. They are definitely in my pick, like top 3 armies in the game still.
Yeah, for sure. I think so. And I mean, as much as we're saying that this isn't enough, I'm happy they did something. Incremental change is better than no change or too much, right? Yeah. Nobody would like it if Death Guard got nerfed into oblivion. So hopefully, if this isn't enough, which we probably think it isn't, if it isn't enough, then hopefully the balance slate or whatever, they'll do another knock and take maybe another 100 points off the top and see if that will solve it.
I think you made a great point when we were talking about Chaos Knights is like you're going to trim around the edges to the least vital resources, but any future points hit will actually impact the real units.
Yes, on Chaos Knights especially, right? But here, I mean, dude, my list could afford to, the list I just read out could afford to go up 65 points and it would just go down from 3 squads of Poxwalkers to 2. Right? And 2 is like where you want. 3 is gravy.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. It's good. This is a cheap codex game. Yeah. All right. And then Imperial Knights. Let's get
all the way down there. Past Imperial agents.
There
no changes for agents.
No, they don't need any changes.
They're perfect agents.
So Imperial Knights here, they got similar set of changes. Now, the Helverin went up 10. So both Chaos Knights and Imperial Knights had one of their War Dog Armiger models go up. The Carnivore for Chaos Knights, the Armiger here. So the Armiger and the Warglaive or the Helverin and the Warglaive are the same points now, which is perfectly fair. Frankly, the Helverin is a lot better in general.
The Helverin is pretty good. I think I like a mix, but yeah, you can definitely still go like, I mean, I can crunch the points.
The
very
build
fast
that
as
you
read
saw,
them
the
down.
dominant Imperial Knights build was Canis, triple Atropos, 4 Helverins list. And that list has gone up, 100, 120, 155, plus, so 195?
Yeah.
Went up 195. So you do have to cut 1 Armiger and drop probably 2 of those Atropos to something else. Or you go 3 big knights and you get an extra Armiger in there. So this archetype changes because it was a more narrow archetype. There's less diversity in Imperial Knight lists, I would say, because Chaos Knights had multiple different detachments to play from, which required different big knights. And then Death Guard obviously had a much greater diversity. But Imperial Knights has the least amount of diversity, I would say, and so they're most hit by the changes.
Yeah, they will have to change a lot more. Like every unit in their army, literally bar none, went up. So they're gonna have to do some kind of change, right? Warglaves didn't, but like every unit that they were taking went up, basically.
Yeah.
So I mean, you're still gonna see Canis. Canis at 415 is still an incredible unit. They have not managed to make Canis bad this edition.
Nope.
You're gonna start seeing less of like random Imperial armies taking Canis, but I don't think that's because he's bad. I think it's just because they've been given a reason not to, and I don't think every Custodes player and Grey Knight player and Imperial Guard player and Space Marine player want to play Canis Rex. They want to play their army, right? I think Atropos, you're going to see slightly less of them. But, I mean, realistically, what? Can you take Canis, double Atropos? I mean, I wrote a list. Hold on.
It's Canis, double Atropos, and you get like a couple. It depends if you want Imperial Agent allies. You can get 3 Armigers, Sister Battle Squad, and 2 Immolators. Or you could go for more Armigers instead. Yeah,
I did. So 2,000 points on the nose is Canis Rex, 1 Atropos, and a Crusader with the teleport. Because the Crusader's 10 points cheaper. That's important here. 5 Armigers of any configuration, right? And then a unit of Inquisitorial Agents. There you go. You get 3, 5, and then 3 bigs, 5 littles. You get an enhancement, and you get a unit of agents for your backfield.
Still very good. That has a good amount of stuff. It's got good killing power. That's just going to be a good Imperial Knight list. And if we think back before the changes, the points drops that Imperial Knights got, they had like a 55, 56% win rate. They were one of the better armies in the game, and they were winning GTs, winning majors.
And then they got like 280 points worth of points drops.
Yes.
After
they did lose a toughness, but gained some wounds.
Like Brian won Cherokee, and then his list essentially replaced an Armiger with a big knight.
Yes, which was obviously too much, as we saw.
Yeah, I mean, this is the single most egregious change has been the Imperial Knights.
It really felt like they thought that decrease from T12 to T11 was a much bigger deal. If they didn't give them the extra wounds, I think we possibly could have been okay. But you basically, it's mostly a side grade. Sometimes it's actually better just to have the extra wounds, especially on the War Dogs.
Especially with the 6-up Feel No Pain that everyone has. Like, those extra wounds go even further.
It felt like they really thought that toughness decrease was worth so many points, and it just wasn't. It was not.
Yeah, I mean, like...
We looked at the points, we're like, this is insanity.
What are we doing, man?
Insane immediate look.
What did Canis
didn't have to put on the table?
70 points for a unit that was an auto-include in every Knight's army? And I had taken at its original points cost. I took it in Custodes at one point in time, right?
I took it in Admech at one point.
Yeah. I've seen it in Agents. I've seen it. I have seen Canis Rex on the table plenty of times in good lists as original points cost, and then they were like -1 toughness, +4 wounds, down 70 points. And now he's up 35.
He's still cheaper than he was.
He's still better than he was.
He's still extremely good, and he's the one auto take here for sure. He's in every Imperial Knight list. You're just going to see that, and what you build around it comes down to whether you want to go, I think, for how many Imperial Agent allies and how many Armigers. That determines which big knights you go for.
Yeah, I mean, I think the main issue here, right, with diversity at least, is that a lot of these knights aren't. All right, if you go down the list. The Gallant, the Paladin, the Preceptor, the Valiant, and then like most of the Forge ones are just buns, right? They're just bad.
They're just clearly worse.
So you're not going to see any of those. So now it's like, and the Castellan is not good. The errant is if you are 20 points over, you take an errant, right? Like, so you can narrow the good big knights down to like the truly like good ones to the Atropos, Canis, and the Crusader. And those were the ones.
The Paladin's not bad with Armor Contempt and the rerolls. Because if you bring the Imperial Knight allies, you strip cover, and that reduces the impact of his lower AP.
True.
Brian has run him. He's actually quite annoying to kill with the permanent Armor Contempt. That's really annoying.
Fair play. But it means you're going to see a lot less, whereas like Chaos Knights have like 5 ones you can choose from that are quite good. But Castellan, yes, Castellan, pure fun. Got it. Sure. You got it, buddy.
Yeah, overall, I think this is a really good first pass. You know, it is a nerf to these armies. It's not a huge nerf. They're certainly not dropping way down in the rankings, in my opinion. They're still going to be good. We're still going to have to tailor lists to make sure that we can fight these armies. Even if they're like slightly less prevalent, you're still going to see them plenty because they are popular armies overall.
Yes.
And, you know, if they're dropping from an S tier down to like top of A or, you know, like S minus, they're still really good.
And again, I want to shout out the Armiger build. I did some quick numbers while you were talking, and you can pretty easily get Canis in 11. You don't really get anything alongside that, so it's possible that's not the exact configuration you want. You could probably get a Warden with the double Bondsman thing. Somebody was calling it out in chat as well.
Yep, the -1 damage.
Yep, or you can go just like an Errant or something, and then take like 11 or 12 of the small knights, and it's pretty vicious. It's pretty vicious, and I think if you tech for the big ones, I don't think you're going to be ready for Armiger spam, and Armiger spam was really good before.
It was the dominant style. That was what had the 55-56% win rate before the points drops.
Yep, and it hasn't changed. I mean, sorry, it has changed. It's gone down in cost. Now, I think the toughness 10 to toughness 9 matters a little bit more. But +2 wounds on all of your armigers is like 2 free armigers in terms of wounds. So,
and if you're throwing out -1 damage, that means a lot more when you have extra wounds.
Yep. So that's something to look at. I think in teams, that build is actually pretty brutal because some of the methods of dealing with the big knights are just not effective into the armigers. Like, for example, Host of Ascension, very good into big knights, very bad into armigers. So something to look at.
Definitely. All right. So we got a whole bunch of super chats here. So let's go ahead and start going. Thank you so much, everybody who super chatted.
You want fan funding?
Yes, sir. I did click on the wrong thing. Haha.
There you go.
All right. So starting off, we have JB87Rel. Thanks so much for your $2 super chat, saying hello. Hello to you. Thanks so much for joining us. Hope you're having a good morning. Then we have Salmengdi, I think so. $10 super chat. Thanks so much. Jack or John said their deployments usually don't change in the moment. Y'all don't deploy differently depending on matchup or how the opponent drops. Just curious, and any of you all coming to Nova? Great question.
So about the first point, your deployment definitely changes based off what opponent you're playing. But generally, outside of a couple of scenarios, you don't really do... Your deployment doesn't change that much based off of the I drop this and you drop that. Oh, I see you drop that there. Now I'm going to drop this here. Occasionally, your opponent has like one big unit you care about, and so you want to see where that goes. That happens occasionally. The deployment roll-off for who gets to drop their infiltrator first can be quite important sometimes. But I'd say 80% of my deployment generally just kind of is the same opponent to opponent.
This has been a big change. If you played back in like 8th edition or something, it mattered a lot more on the different drops. And the reason is that terrain density is a lot higher. And so typically you're deploying based on what the terrain is rather than what your opponent is doing, because there's the staging points. You know where the staging points, you're going to try and get to those as best as possible. You're going to screen your backfield. You're going to do all the normal types of things based on the terrain layout that you're on, rather than your opponent's army as much.
That's a good point. I talk about this a lot in Jack Theory, which you can find in the War Room. But your turn 1 moves are essentially, your deployment, is essentially a reverse of where you want to go turn 1. Right? You figure out where you want to stage your stuff, where you want to go, and then you find a place in your deployment zone that can go there on turn 1. But because your opponent is in their deployment zone, you're not really interacting with them as much on turn 1, so your plans for where your units are going to go doesn't have as much of an impact for like where they are, right? Turn 2, certainly, that's where we get to the fun, right? But turn 1, a lot less often.
The lighter the terrain, the more impactful the drops are, because then I can see, oh, Jack is putting all of his long-range guns in this top corner. how can I counter deploy that to take turns away from him shooting me?
Yep.
And that's why in like 8th edition, when terrain was a lot lighter, it meant you had to see, okay, now they've stacked up 4 guns over here and 2 over here. I'm going to lean heavier on this side.
Yeah, so I'd say about like 20-30% of your deployment is based off what army your opponent's playing and where they're putting their stuff. And the rest of it is generally based off the terrain and where you want to go on turn 1.
In terms of who's going to Nova, I believe Folger is going to Nova. He's our newest team member. Outside of that, I know I was thinking about going, but I'm not going. John was thinking about going. I'm not sure if he's going to end up going. So
I'm not
sure if Scary is traveling. So I haven't heard too much. So there might not be a big presence there.
No, it doesn't look like it. My September's like super busy. So
oh yeah. So I had a Grey Knights and Votann release. Jack had Black Templars and Grey Knights, and so we're both like super. We're pumping the content here.
Yeah, for sure.
40k Sports Center. Thanks so much for your €20 super chat. Question to Jack: is it true that in the crucial turn 3 of games of Grey Knights versus Death Guard, you took out your phone and started playing Grey Knight list? What was the result of that writing, and how do you think your Eldar World Eaters Black Templar fans feel about it?
So that is true. I would.
This is a war room game.
I would not lie.
Grey Knights did nasty things to Death
Grey
Guard.
Knights full rerolled the hit and wound on everything the entire. It was
unnerfed Death Guard, by the way.
Yes. Champions of Contagion, which took less of a nerf, but like whatever. Yes, it is true. I started writing a Grey Knight list. I wouldn't lie to you. If I say this, I wouldn't lie. It is true. I wanted to see what an MSU build would look like that wasn't as many like big units, because that list that you were playing had like 6 big units that do incalculable amounts of damage.
Infinite damage.
And it had like a Storm Raven. So I wanted to see what like 5-mans that were re-rolling a bunch of stuff could do. It seemed pretty decent. I don't remember what exactly it was. I didn't come to like a conclusion on it. I had to also do my job.
His conclusion was,
it was good.
Warpbane hype.
Pretty good. And what do I think my Eldar World Eaters Black Templar fans feel about it? Well, if they have been in my faction for any length of time, they know that I bounce around a lot, but I will always be back.
Always circles back around.
Yeah.
Redrum with a €5 super chat. Thank you so much. What rules changes do you guys want to see for those armies, and which ones would nerf them even more? Pretty sure points aren't enough. My number one for Death Guard would be fixing I don't think 6-inch Deep Strike should exist on that.
6-inch Deep Strike
as
in charge?
As a data sheet rule.
Maybe. What I want to do...
Maybe what they do is the one unit with this ability can use this rule.
So you don't drop like 3 units.
You can't just drop 2 or 3 units and go for plays like that. Maybe that would be enough. Because there are other rules in the games where one character with this unit or one data sheet with this ability can use it in that battle round or whatever.
Yeah. I think that'd be a good change. Honestly, what I want to do is I want to see these rules changes percolate for like 2 weeks, and then I'll have a better idea about that, to be honest with you. Because it's possible that these go out and then the armies like magically work themselves down to inside that 55% win rate. I'd be surprised, but I've been surprised before, right? So I'd love to see them for a couple weeks, see what's still overperforming, and then
maybe everybody switches to playing double Fire Dragon and their win rates get suppressed because of that.
It's possible, man. Listen, if you want to kill Imperial Knights, Chaos Knights, and Death Guard, you play Eldar with 20 Fire Dragons. You will kill them so dead. So unbelievably dead. And if you play it right, there's nothing they can do about it.
Fire and Fade.
Yay!
Will, I really am. Thanks so much for your £2 super chat. So 200 recruit list is Siegler's next list, right?
Of course.
Not 200 recruit. If you're going to go the recruit spam, you're going to run the 27 guerrillas.
Unga bunga.
You're gonna bunga people. You'll have some amount of crew, but you won't have 200 crew.
We've never seen you play this on the table.
I don't have it painted or.
You don't have 27 rampagers?
No, I don't have.
And you call yourself a Tau player?
I have them, but so 6 of them are fully painted and good. 6 of them are unpainted but built and primed, and then the last 6 of the rampagers are new in box, sitting there.
It sounds like we got to fix this.
And then I have obviously the crew talks, the riders version.
You're running that to challengers. Like, you got to get it ready by then.
No, maybe we can get Nick to do that. The Kroot man.
Oh,
Nick is a Kroot killer.
Oh, I could sell him on that Kroot detachment. Like, oh man, they use stealth on everything. That's crazy.
It's crazy.
That's crazy.
You got trash for days, baby. Trash for days, Jack.
Days.
So maybe in the future when that gets built and painted up. But right now I'm painting a lot of Votann stuff.
The shocking, truly.
Ricky Chow, thanks so much for your $10 super chat. Something's been bugging me. In the Votan review, Jack kept saying you could float yield points. So I'm going to call my shot. What deck are you playing, and when are we going to spell table with the community?
Okay, so this took me a second.
Is this Magic the Gathering?
This is Magic. This is definitely Magic. So what I think he's saying, and correct me if I'm wrong, is because I said you could float yield points, he thinks that's a term for Magic the Gathering, which it is. And then he's saying, I think you play Magic. What deck are you playing? When am I going to? I think Spell Table's like an online client or something for the game, for Magic. What deck am I playing? So currently, I prefer Constructed over Commander, personally. Currently for Standard, I'm looking at Jeskai Control, because there's actually SCG Con in Orlando in a week and a half, and Michael and I are going.
Oh, you're going?
We're going.
Nice. Good luck, guys.
We're going. Thank you. It is Standard. VV Cauldron is a menace. I'm not paying $800 for that deck. Instead, I'm going to cast Negates, and I'm going to cast Ultimas until they are all dead, hopefully. So that's where we're at. I'm currently looking at Jeskai Control. I think Michael is looking at like some kind of Ketramos build. And then I have most of a modern deck together. I'm still getting the rest of it shipped in from TCG Player, and that is It Prowess, which seems like a hell of a good time. And also playing Corey Steelcutter in a format that can handle it sounds like fun. So that's where I'm at right now.
Got Redrum here. Thanks so much for your €5 at your super chat. Yes, Ricky Chow, let's play Magic with Jack and kill him with commander damage.
Listen, I'm willing to play Magic online. Not actual Magic online, but Magic online. At some point.
The John the Apocalypse, thanks so much for your super chat. Thinking of giving my Tau tank smart missiles, yes or no? If you go for the smart missile route, so this would be, you would have your like hammerheads, and you have the Sky Rays, and you have the Riptides. If you're going to go for smart missile spam, you go for it in full. Like all the platforms that you have that can bring smart missiles, you bring them, and then you have overwhelming chip damage into cheap screens, and you get to kill them from relative safety. But like having one or two of them won't really add up very much. But if you have a lot of them all at once, it will actually start to do the significant chip damage. Kind of think about it like the Chaos Knights. When they ran the War Dog spam and they had all of the indirect missiles on top, no single activation is doing very much of anything usually. But turn after turn, it adds up significantly where, ooh, my cheap stuff that stood on objectives or wanted to contest objectives is just dead. My screens are dead.
Yeah.
That's what you want to do if you go for the smart missile spam, and it's 100% viable. Redrum, another super chat here. Thank you so much. Imperial Knights and Chaos Knights have been an army to nerf before the summer changes, and now with those nerfs, they are still stronger than before the summer changes.
Yep.
I would agree with that statement. Yes.
I think anyone doomering on IK or CK would do very well to keep that in mind. Yes,
I saw some doomers on Death Guard. I'm like,
it's crazy.
You know how privileged you are.
Imperial Knights were too good of an army before the summer points changes, and since that time, now they are better than they were because they went down like 120 points or something since then. So just keep that in mind. Keep that in mind. Listen, if I punch you in the face and hand you $1, right? Like, you're not going to be happy about the $1.
We got a Pow Up. Thanks so much for your $5 super chat. Playing in a GT this weekend. Tio says new data slate points update won't apply since list submission passed. What's your take on events handling this? I really like how Nova handled it, which is coming up at the end of the month. They decided that they will allow, even though the rules cutoff was, I believe, the 13th, it was a couple days before, they had allowed the points update to go into effect. And that's mostly because we've been stuck with a meta where these three armies have just been the top three armies. Everybody is trying to tailor for them, but they're still winning events and still performing well. I think accepting points changes and resulting in healthier meta for the vast majority of participants is better, especially because, like I mentioned, these armies are extremely brutal at the mid-tables to even hope to have a game against. Usually you're tabled on turn 3 and the game's completely over. I think for the vast majority of players who are going to be in that situation, it's much better to have these changes.
I actually have an opposite view here, which I think is interesting. I think the list submission and rules cutoff, I think, should be held to, honestly, because I think people are going to get their armies. A lot of people can't just switch, right, very quickly. And I think if you have the rules cutoff date and you have the list submission date, and everyone's going in with that assumption because you've said that's what you're doing, I think you should still stick to that.
So they haven't messed with the list submission. List submission is day before the event. So
this one says list submission.
Oh yeah, for his event. I was talking about Nova specifically.
Oh, for Nova, well, yeah, Nova list submission is day of basically.
Exactly. So for your TO, for anything that's happening like this weekend, 100%, it's too short of a time.
Yeah.
Time span.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Yeah.
I think if you have like 2.5 weeks, 3 weeks, okay, we can accept a new set of changes and not have our event have an old meta that has been active for now 3 weeks. I think that's too long of a time frame. But I would agree that your TO is very likely right in this situation. That would require such a big shift for a lot of people in a very short time span.
Yeah, and what can happen at smaller GTs or RTTs is the player base sometimes will sometimes like push to get things legal anyway, and then the TO has to see whether they want to handle that or not. There is the risk, though, that most players at the event are not playing Imperial Knights, Death Guard, and Chaos Knights, and so will want their opponents to be nerfed, right? And so even though it's democracy that most players would want these point changes implemented, it still probably isn't the correct thing to do. Because anyone, right, like if you say, hey, we're going to nerf, world leaders at this event, 90% of players at the event are not going to play world leaders, and it's just a buff for them, right? And it would be an attack on me personally.
Yeah, you deserve it, Jack.
Don't do it to me.
So yeah, I think it's too short of a time span for this weekend, absolutely. And like Jack mentioned, hobby time is a huge thing. So having people get their army ready up to a decent standard does take some time, and you have to respect that. Redrum with another super chat here. Thank you so much. Standard or modern, Jack? I've been playing Magic since 2003, and I play mostly combo and control. Love those archetypes. Love whatever that's called.
Jeskai. It's the combination of colors of red, white, and blue.
It's the American deck.
It is. I think it used to be
the French deck.
I think it used to be like America or whatever before Tarkir came out, which gave a name to that color combination. Gotcha. That's kind of before my time. I've been playing since. I don't know. Technically since like 2008, 9, something like that. But off and on, largely I transitioned from Magic over to Warhammer. And so Warhammer's been like 99.9% of my focus. But I've always kept in touch of how Magic was doing. Generally like mid-range, like value piles with good creatures that are good on their own. That's not really that good right now, unfortunately, in Standard. Modern sounds like it's more fun than Standard. Standard is easier to get into, so we're kind of doing both of those. So in Standard right now, you can run Dimir mid-range. It's not really kind of a mid-range. It's kind of like a tempo control deck anyway, or tempo deck, and tempo card advantage deck. It's weird. I built it. I have that deck. It just didn't click with me as much, so Jeskai control feels really strong right now, especially if you want to beat VV without playing VV. And then I am building a modern deck. So kind of both, really, I think is the answer.
Awesome. Well, that looks to be the end of the super chats here. So thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. Hope you enjoyed our thoughts on the recent changes in the MFM. If you agree with us, disagree with us, let us know in the comments below. We'd love to hear from you. In addition, please do give us a like, subscribe to the channel, and tell your friends about us. All of that massively helps us grow. If you want to see more content from us, yesterday we released a game between Nerf Death Guard and Nerf Chaos Knights head-to-head. In a battle report, and it was an epic battle, so check that out. That's on the YouTube channel. The post game is in the War Room, and then we have a lot more cool content coming out very soon for all the different rules, including today's battle report in the War Room is going to be Jack's Gladius Black Templars up against my Delve Assault Shift for Leagues of Votann. So if you want to see angry melee armies smash into each other in a very fun way, check out that game and the post game associated with it. But there's tons more coming, so check it out, theworm.vhx.tv. There's a 3-day free trial, and on top of that, you get access to our international Discord community, which is popping off with lots of different faction channels for all the armies in the game, and they're very active, and there's a lot of high-level players in there to help you out if you are trying to get new ideas or switching to a different army.
Absolutely.
Otherwise, we have one other cool thing that we're launching. If you are bringing a team to Challengers Cup and you want a little bit of coaching beforehand on, pairings process, creating matrices, deciding on team composition, all that cool stuff related to teams, check out our new coaching offer for Challengers Cup specifically. You and your entire team can be on a call with one of our coaches and help get prepared for the event. So check that out on the artofwar40k.com/shop. All right. Well, thanks so much, Jack, for joining me here.
Thank
Hope
you.
everybody enjoyed this video, and we will see you all next time with some more content. So long for now.
Bye-bye.
Enjoy the new meta.